Watching the clock. It's 8 o'clock. Let's get underway here. We've got a very jam-packed meeting. So first of all, good evening and welcome to the All Candidates Night for the upcoming Norfolk County Municipal Election. My name is Jim Norman. I'm the president of the Delhi and District Chamber of Commerce. And tonight we'll learn more about our candidates for Wards 2, 3, and 4, councillor positions, and the candidates for mayor. Each of you has an opportunity to ask questions of the candidates with issues that you feel are important, so we'll all be better informed when we cast our votes. The Chamber of Commerce is pleased to organize and sponsor this event, as the municipal elections have a direct impact on the strategic direction of the county, business vibrancy, and long-term community viability. Every 4 years, the elections allow us to review the progress made and cast our votes for a team that we feel will move the county forward in the future. We must have a strong county council in place in order to improve our communities, and we must work together with the county for positive change. This election is a critical component of that change. Please ask the questions that you feel need to be asked that will move us forward. What are the visions and commitments from the candidates? I would be remiss if I did not thank the organizing committee from the Chamber of Commerce. As I call your name, will you please stand up? Teresa Weibo, Don Murphy, I'm not sure if Don's here tonight, Doug Moyert, and the overall organizer, Ken Hansom, our vice president. Folk and Vote will also be taping and live streaming tonight's event. The group is hoping to encourage more citizens to vote this year. Also, we'd hope to have a sign language interpreter tonight, however, we weren't able to arrange. In closing, thanks for attending, and please get out and vote. The early polls are as follows: October the 7th, 10 to 8 here at the Delhi District Secondary School, October the 10th, 10 to 8 here at the Delhi German Hall, and then the voting day, which is October 22nd. Keep that date in mind, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Ward 2 is the Langton Community Center, Cortland Community Center. Ward 3 is at Delhi German Hall and the Teeterville Fire Hall. Ward 4 is Linville United Church and Victoria Community Center. To repeat again, please, please, please get out and vote. So at this point, I'm pleased to introduce Mike Jiggins, who will be moderating tonight's event and will explain how the night will progress. Mike is very experienced, having moderated similar sessions in the past, and we thank him for volunteering once again. Mike, over to you.
Thanks, President Jim. Before I introduce the 14 candidates in attendance tonight, I'll go over the format of the evening briefly. Each candidate will be allotted 2 minutes to introduce themselves and state their platforms. Questions which have been collected here tonight will be asked. We've got a panel that are going over the questions right now as we speak. We do have the first 2 questions will be prepared by the chamber itself, and then they'll be opening up to the questions that the audience has prepared. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond to those questions. We will have Doug Moyert, who was introduced a moment ago. He is our timer, and he will give each candidate a signal at the end of 60 minutes to let them know to wrap it up, or 60 seconds, pardon me. We don't want to be here all night. After 60 seconds, the signal will be given for the candidate to wrap it up. They'll be giving a 30-second grace period to do so. We hope to conclude the meeting by hopefully 10:30 at the absolute latest. We do have a lot of questions to go through and a lot of people to hear from. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the candidates, starting with the mayoralty candidates. We have Crystal Chop, if you could please stand and be recognized. Russell Colebrook, and incumbent Charlie Luke. The candidates contesting for Ward 2, we have Matt DeVos, incumbent Roger Geisens, and Joe Murphy. The candidates contesting for Ward 3, we have Les Berta, incumbent Mike Columbus, Albert Geiler, Daryl Smart, and Tim Sullivan. And the candidates contesting for Ward 4, we have Thomas Ferris, who appears to be absent, Dean Morrison, and Chris Van Passen. We'll hear from the candidates alphabetically, starting with the Mayoralty candidates. Crystal Chop, please.
Good evening. My name is Crystal Chop. Thank you all for being here this evening. It is a great honor to be running to be your next mayor. A bit about myself. Prior to moving to Norfolk County, I grew up on a farm in Binbrook, and so I sympathize with many of you here. Those that long for the days when our municipalities lived within their means, when volunteerism thrived, when people went about their daily lives with minimal incursion by our local government. Instead, our downtowns are suffering, our volunteers are fed up, our community programs are declining, our youth are leaving, our infrastructure is suffering, and yet the costs of running our county have never been higher. My opponent inherited Norfolk County in the best financial shape it has been in, and yet in 2015 we ran a $1.8 million deficit. In 2016, that number soared to $4.5 million, and in 2017 our deficit was more than $5 million. The $68 million legacy fund from the sale of Norfolk Power, that too is being mismanaged. Last year, despite an incredible year for investors in the markets, our fund didn't even earn enough money to cover the costs of our management fees, and our principal was further eroded. In 2014, my opponent stated, and I quote, "The number one issue facing Norfolk County is to maintain control of costs." He has failed. My opponent made a post a few days ago. It said, "Looking for change? 1/3, 3 of 8 are not running. Change is coming." Mr. Luke isn't just the mayor of Norfolk County. He is the CEO of our corporation. I always thought that a leader takes responsibility. A bad leader places the blame on others. My goal is to create a team that works together. No more ward against ward, no more ombudsman investigations to try to figure out what is going on behind closed doors. A council that prides themselves on transparency and cooperation, a council that is accountable to the public who elects them, because we realize that we are all in this together, and Norfolk is best when we work together.
Thank you.
Next is Russell Colebrook.
Good evening. Thanks to the Chamber of Commerce for the invitation, and thanks everybody for showing up. I'm Russell Colebrook, the unconventional candidate for mayor. I was born in Chatham, Ontario, moved to Simcoe in 1975, where I was employed as a taxi driver. For the better part of the past 43 years, I've continued to apply that trade here in Norfolk, only recently hanging up my keys this past April. I live in the former village of Renton with my longtime companion, Linda. Between us, we have 3 children, 1 son, 2 daughters, and 5 grandchildren. I'm a member of the Army, Navy, and Air Force, Unit 255, Simcoe, past executive and sergeant-at-arms. 2006 and 2014, I ran for a council seat in Ward 5 to no avail. My mantra is the same now as it was then. I'm an ordinary man with the same concerns as all the ordinary people. I believe all people deserve to be treated with compassion and respect. For seniors on fixed incomes, those on assistance, and the working poor, we need empathy from council. I certainly understand their plight because I'm one of them. When it comes to people like us, it just doesn't matter when council makes decisions, but we're the first to be impacted by them. My campaign is a $0 effort. I will have no signs, print ads, or radio spots. I'm running for mayor to assure all people get equal representation from council. My years of taxi driving has given me a unique insight into the minds of many, the silent majority. I entered this race early to send a message that we would have an election, not a second term for Charlie by acclamation. Think of me as the doorstop. I am here to provide an alternative to the status quo. The issues facing us won't be solved by one man. It will require a common sense approach and all of council working as a team for the good of all. It's time for a new team to succeed the old. 38-year career politician or the cab driver. Thank you.
And lastly, Charlie Luke.
Thank you, Mike, and I got to talk fast, so you'll have to listen fast. I would like to thank the Chamber for this evening, and I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Here's a few highlights. I'm going to start with Ward 2, mega expansions at Voth Trucks and Titan Trailers. Council has passed a motion to expand the Langton municipal offices this year to full services starting next spring. That means Ontario Works, Haldeman Norfolk Housing, dentistry services, and social services will be added to the Langton office. Ward 4, Phragmites along Ordnance Beach. Darlene Van de Pol has been an amazing leader. Finally, the beach has been approved for spraying this year. I have been working with the Frag Committee, MNR, Toby Barrett, and MNR Minister Urick. As of Monday, Union Gas said in writing to me that they will again be applying for the expanded natural gas project to Turkey Point. The Ford government has recently approved gas extensions in 71 Ontario communities. I believe that we will have a good shot at this. Let's go to Ward 3. Here we go. Expanded library, expanded medical center, new commercial and apartment construction on the Delhi Foundry property this spring. Belgian Hall sold, apartments and fast food proposed. Repaving of Church Street East to start any day now. And a full rebuild of James Street from one end of town to the other to be completed by July the 1st of 2019. You have seen Diane and I at Fall Fest, multicultural banquets, at the Santa Claus Parade, strawberry festivals, and Rotary fundraisers. I was born here. We raised our family here. I taught in 11 schools in the county, including Langton, Port Rowan, Teeterville, and Wyndham Center. I know Norfolk. You can count on me. My 38 years on council are equivalent to a PhD in municipal government. And I can assure you folks about the Legacy Fund that it is okay. We started out with $67.7 million. It's now at over $72 million. The interest is growing. $2.9 million was earned in 2015 and $2.4 million was earned in 2016. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mayoralty candidates. We'll now hear for the candidates contesting for Ward 2, beginning with Matt DeVos.
Hey everyone, my name's Matt DeVos and I would love to be your counselor for Ward 2. A little bit new to politics, but would love to put in the extra work and a little bit extra time, and I would like to make some changes and get some things done. My background a little bit, I graduated university 3 years ago. I'm a business major specializing in finance. To show a little bit of initiative and kind of where I came from, early entry into the business world. I got my real estate license when I was 18, worked for Morrison Realty here, selling farms and recreational properties around Norfolk and outside the area, so I know a little bit about business. Shortly after graduating in finance, opened up a beer company, Hometown Brewing, and thanks to the support of this room and even the German Hall in the county, we just celebrated our 2 years of business, and so yeah, we're starting to build soon, and that's all good. So I mean, I was born here, I was raised on a tobacco farm in Langton. I mean, went to school, but I ended up coming back and want to stay in the county, so just make sure things that are run good and the county's on a positive track and everything's all good. Thanks.
Roger Geisels.
Whoops. Now it's going to slide off. Anyway, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for the invitation to attend and to speak tonight. Thanks to the support of the residents of Ward 2, it has been my privilege to serve you as a county councillor for the past 18 years. During my term, I have been a strong voice for Ward 2, ensuring that our concerns were brought forward and addressed at council. I answer hundreds of calls and emails from the local residents, which have to be looked after, and I do. During my term, I've noted that planning and building departments seem to generate the most concerns. The biggest issue is communications. These are two departments that need to communicate better with residents and builders.
Communication is not to be a two-way street, it is a two-way street and not a one-way. There is more potential for growth, but we will need to invest in industrial parks, not only in Simcoe, but also in Cortland. You will find that there are a number of businesses, not businesses, actually factories that are working. There are three factors being looking for workers. They say there are no jobs for young people in Cortland. Cadman Power Equipment and Voth Body Trucks are searching for welders, fabricators, general laborers. And who says we don't have jobs for young people? In Simcoe, Toyotetsu is looking for members of staff and workers to join their organization. We have one of the most diverse agriculture areas in Canada for ginseng, tobacco, fruit, vegetables, soybeans, and corn, and many more.
That is time, thank you.
Wow, okay, thank you.
And lastly, Joe Murphy.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for coming out. My name is Joe Murphy. I'll be running for councillor in Ward 2. I live in Cortland. I've grown up in the area, always lived in the area, and had a vested interest in Norfolk with family living in Norfolk my entire life and for a few generations prior. My platform is three simple things. Efficiency. I propose a review of all county planning and permitting processes to make customer service when you're working with the county as easy as possible. 2, accessibility. I'll make myself accessible, keeping regular business hours, and I will work with the CAO to develop or to broaden the county's current communication strategy. Transparency. I will propose an annual report that outlines all projects proposed for the year, funding for those projects, as well as capital expenditures, and reporting on the county's debt level annually. The report might not be too detailed in the first few years, but I want to get down to a 5-page, simple to read report that everybody knows where the money's coming from, where the money's going to, because not all the money comes from taxes. There's development charges and other fees. But I think everybody needs to know where the cash flow is and not have any secrets, because that's the one thing I think all government levels need to do a better job at. Anyway, thank you for your time, and hopefully you'll get out and vote for me this October. Thank you.
Thank you, Ward 2 candidates. We'll move on now to the candidates running in Ward 3, beginning with Les Berta.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, candidates, present councilors, and mayor. I would like to thank the Delhi Chamber of Commerce for hosting this all candidates night. Some of you may know me from my business or various service and business organizations. My name is Leslie Berta, or everybody calls me Les, and I'm running for Ward 3 councilor. I was a frequent visitor to Delhi and worked in tobacco industry in the 60s, early 70s, which helped me pay my way through Mohawk College in Hamilton, taking a business admin course. My parents moved to Delhi in 1970 and worked and lived here while I was away pursuing my career in the transportation industry. When my wife passed away in 97, my daughter Melissa and I moved from Ottawa to Delhi to be closer to my parents as they grew older in life. I was semi-retired at this time, but missed meeting people. So in 1999, I decided to pursue my passion by opening a retail store and selling them and repairing computers. What an adventure this has been, and I hope I was instrumental in helping many people get into the computer age. Please don't blame me for any dating issues. Since moving to Delhi, I've been involved with various service and business organizations, including past president of Delhi Lions Club, president of the Delhi Kinsmen, treasurer with the Delhi Fall Fest, vice chair for the Delhi BIA, executive and treasurer with Hungarian Hall. Since I've decided to run for Ward 3 councillor, I've heard from many special interest groups and hope to have their concerns heard. My objective is to serve Delhi Ward 3 residents in combination with Norfolk County. Some issues which will probably be addressed during this session will include the Norplex multi-recreational facility, which I'm a proponent for, the recreational marijuana, its growth, sales,
That is
security.
time, thank you.
Okay, anyways, thank you very much.
Mike Columbus.
Good evening, residents and voters of Ward 3. Thank you to the Delhi Chamber for hosting this event. Why vote for Mike Columbus? I am approachable, dependable, and have demonstrated dedication to the job of municipal councillor. I am a lifetime resident of Wyndham Delhi community. I have served as Ward 3 councillor from the year 2001 to the present time. Prior to that, I served as a Township of Delhi councillor. I thank Ward 3 residents for allowing me to serve as their elected representative over these past years. I was raised on a Wyndham area farm, graduated from the University of Guelph, and retired from a 33-year career with OMAFRA as an agrologist working in the field of land use planning, energy management, and lastly, innovation and commercialization of new and special crops, a lot of which you drive by on the back roads today. Over the years, I have demonstrated commitment to the Ward 3 Delhi Wyndham community. As a founding director and dedicating 9 years to the cause and in cooperation with Norfolk Council colleagues, I have facilitated Norfolk County's support to the Delhi Community Health Center in the amount of $550,000. During the potential closure of the Delhi High School, I stepped up alongside with many of the other hardworking volunteers to save DDSS. In recent times, with support of council colleagues and volunteers, I facilitated the establishment of the newly enhanced library where usage has doubled. Recently, the county, with support of senior levels of government, has invested more than $15 million to upgrade the water and wastewater infrastructure in Delhi. I have also served as a pro-development counselor and support business development in all sectors, be it agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, or retail. I will continue to support investment in our infrastructure to maintain and upgrade our roads, bridges, fire, EMS and equipment, recreational and cultural facilities. I will continue to push for upgrades to our much-needed road surfaces, including the total wall-to-wall reconstruction of King Street. Thank you.
Albert Geiler.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank the chair and the chamber for this opportunity. My name is Albert Geiler, and I'm a resident of Ward 3, Delhi. And an aside, as has been suggested by a candidate that I'm too old to seek office, I will make the following comment. I will not make my age an issue in this campaign, and I will not exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth or inexperience. I am a retired municipal clerk, and I've served in this capacity as a clerk treasurer, tax collector, city clerk, town manager, and my career started in Waterford, and after 39 years, I retired from the Township of Wainfley. During my career, I served on the board of directors of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, and on the Ontario Municipal Management Institute. I'm a graduate of the Simcoe Composite School and continued my education at Syracuse and Queens College in public administration. I earned several professional designations and was honored to be the first clerk in Canada to be awarded a Master Municipal Clerk Certificate. During my career in local government, I co-authored the Clerk's Drainage Guide and programs to help clerks bill and collect monies for drainage so the farmers knew what they were getting and when they were getting it. I also was a member of the committee that negotiated the Lake Erie Industrial Park in Nanticoke.
That is time, thank you.
Daryl Smart.
Hi, everybody. How are you? My name is Daryl Smart. Thanks to the Chamber for putting this on. It's a great night, and have to get acclimatized to this. It's a lot different than the dance floor that we were on Saturday night, the wedding we were at. But a little bit about myself. My name is Daryl Smart. My wife Brianne is back there somewhere. She had to put our baby to bed before she came in. Thanks to Dave Scott and Folk and Vote and Hub Media for live streaming this, so my 18-year-old daughter, who's at the University of Ottawa taking political science, she can watch that, and so can the rest of her class. Instead of talking about myself, because this is honestly about the community and not me, I'll tell you a story about why we moved to Delhi. 4 years ago, I was covering for the Norfolk News the Fall Fest parade. My wife was looking on her phone, and she saw a listing for a house, and after the parade, took some pictures, went to the house. We fell in love with the house. We were driving back to our place in Port Dover, and we instantly fell in love with Delhi as well. You probably ask why. You know what? It's a place that's been close to my heart. My grandpa Smart, he had a farm in Wyndham Center. My uncle, his son, still runs the farm, and my uncles and my late dad all went to Delhi High School. My dad played football here. My daughter graduated here. She started on the basketball team last year as well. But yeah, we believe in Delhi. That's why I'm running here. It could have been an easy choice to run in any other ward, but I believe in Delhi, and that's why we're here. Some of the things that I would like to get across is cohesion. Cohesion.
Thank you.
All right, cohesion. Thank you very much. Bye.
And lastly, Tim Sullivan.
Thanks for having me. My name is Tim Sullivan. I'm a high school teacher here in Norfolk County. I have been for 19 years. I teach, I got my BSc in biology. I teach physics, and most recently I'm in an autism spectrum disorder in one of the 7 new classrooms that our board has opened up. I'm running once again. I ran last time. This is my second time running, and I'm running once again for my primary platform is to stop the dumping of toxic industrial waste into the Norfolk water supply. The policy of water fluoridation, it sounds good on the surface, but when you're dealing with policies that are known to be 99% ineffective, what percentage it actually ends up in your mouth? It's a known neurotoxin, it's a known carcinogen. Sodium hexafluoric acid is known to lower children's IQ. It interrupts thyroid function, replacing iodine. Yeah, that's really, I'm here if you vote for me. I promise I will try and stop the policy of water fluoridation, which really has no place. It is toxic industrial waste from the phosphate mining industry that they didn't have anything else to do with, so they sold it to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ward 3 candidates. Moving on now to the candidates contesting for Ward 4, beginning with Dean Morrison.
Good evening. It's great to see you out tonight. We'd like to thank the Delhi District Chamber of Commerce for hosting tonight's Meet the Candidates. My name is Dean Morrison. I'm proud to say that I was born and raised in Norfolk. After attending the University of Guelph, came back to the family farm and started my farming career, also my real estate career. Today, after 32 years, I can say I'm still farming and have established a real estate brokerage, Morrison Realty Limited. I've also had the privilege to serve you, the taxpayer, as Township of Delhi Council from 1991 to 2000, and as a counselor for Ward 4 on Norfolk County Council from 2000 to 2006. On a more personal side, I am married to a wonderful woman, Jennifer, and we have a son, Braden, who are here tonight. I am here tonight to ask you for your support and vote for Councillor for Ward 4. Let me first say that I believe Norfolk County is truly the best place to live, work, and raise a family. Norfolk County, truly the leader in ag innovation and production in Canada. That is something we should be very proud of. Norfolk County also has some of the best resort areas, including my favorite, Turkey Point. We have a flourishing craft beer industry, including Hometown Brew, Charlottesville Brewery, and New Lindbergh, to name a few. Another standout has become a great tourist destination point. It is Eco Adventure and the Burning Kill Winery. Ward 4 is also home to the Good Bread Company, the Harmony Bake Shop, and the Catherwood and Kill. And last but not least, the Donnybrook Fair. We have a lot going, but there's a lot more to do. We need a candidate who can recognize the opportunity is knocking and have the strength and leadership to make it happen. We need leaders who can work together with practical solutions to problems. Problems such as the Ordnance Beach cleanup in the Turkey Point. I'm proud of the Phragmites group that has worked so hard to establish the Phragmites eradication program. We need a candidate that can recognize when existing infrastructure is not adequate and build for the future. I'm proud to say that I sat on council. I worked hard to build a new fire hall in Victoria. I also will work hard for you to build a great recreational complex in Norfolk. Elect Dean Morrison.
And finally, Chris Van Passen.
Thank you, Mr. Jiggins. Am I the candidate you've been waiting for, the last one? I'd like to thank also the Delhi District Chamber of Commerce for organizing the event tonight, and to all of you, thanks for coming out to give me a chance to introduce myself. I'm Chris Van Passen. I've been a farmer in Norfolk County my whole life. I've been married to my wife Trudy for 30-something years. I say that because she sometimes doesn't like it when I tell people how long we've actually been married. We've raised 3 children, Adam, Christy, and Justin. They all live and work here in Norfolk County. That's one of my greatest accomplishments, is raising 3 fine children and having them start the next generation over again. Over the years, I've served as a municipal councillor. I've been a director with the Tobacco Marketing Board. I've been a director with the Conservation Authority. I've been involved with numerous local, provincial, federal committees dealing with various issues at various levels. Currently, I'm chair of the ALICE program here in Norfolk, doing our part to improve the environment. I offer the voters of Ward 4 my experience, my work ethic, and my time. I will accept the responsibility of bringing your issues to the council table, and I will work for all of the citizens of Norfolk County to keep Ontario's garden growing. I ask for your support on October 22nd, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ward 4 candidates. At this point, we're going to move on to the question and answer session. As mentioned earlier, the first 2 questions have been prepared by the Chamber, and they are open to all 14 candidates to answer. Please keep your comments down to 1 minute if possible. As I say, our timekeeper will give a signal if you've reached the 60-second mark, and you'll be given a few extra seconds grace time to wrap it up. So the first question, and we'll begin with the mayoralty candidates, again alphabetically. We'll mix up the order as we go along to the subsequent questions, but for the first question, alphabetically through mayoralty, Ward 2, Ward 3, and Ward 4. A number of businesses complain about the red tape and exorbitant costs when opening a business in Norfolk County. How will you make it easier to do business in Norfolk? And we'll begin with Crystal Chop.
Certainly no business or no government can stop a business from closing, just as no government can drive customers to a store. What governments can do, however, is create an environment that is favorable to business. And as we've seen here in Norfolk County, we are being subjected to significant overregulation. One of the first things that I would do is ask council to complete a complete and immediate review of all bylaws that negatively impact businesses here. That's, the Ontario government has made a plan that for every regulation that is created, they also have to remove a regulation. And that's something that we should be looking at here in Norfolk County as well. Our mayor in the last all candidates night suggested that for every expenditure that was made, Norfolk County would need to create a new bylaw, and I don't believe that in fact to be the case. Our focus here needs to be again on reducing bylaws and red tape in Norfolk.
Crystal must have had spies. She stole some of my stuff. Yeah, the red tape is a huge issue in the county, and like she said, I have it down here. Definitely that department needs a review from top to bottom. They're in the press for all the wrong reasons constantly. And like I said, St. William's, fire up the paper shredder and yank out some pages and shred them. Thank you.
Yeah, just a correction. When council sets a budget in January, staff can spend all the money that as long as they follow the budget. But when you have new items come in, staff cannot spend any more money without a bylaw passed by council. That's the control over staff. So I want to set that record straight. Listen, this is Ontario, not Texas. We are the most over-regulated area in all of North America. Does council and I set those regulations? Sorry, Ontario province, we can't even close a meeting without a bylaw to say that we had a meeting. Our clerk and our staff are paid that we follow the rules. So how do we do business? You go out, you meet developers. I get invited to the table of meetings between developers. Townsend, Titan Trailers, Dover Coast. I've been at all those tables. Marican, in Waterford.
30 seconds.
That's what you do. You are the facilitator, Mr. Mayor. You are the one that sits and says, come on, we got to keep going here. It's a climate. You hire an in-house solicitor like I suggested we did a year and a half ago, and he's here. Saved us $250,000. Saved us time getting our documents signed and our site plans signed. That's what you do. You hire 2 new engineers because our volume has gone up from 88 million in building permits in 2014 to 142. More jobs, more assessment. Building permit value creates buildings, assessment, jobs, people, gas tanks, etc. Did you say I was? Yep. My apologies. I apologize. I get a little bit too passionate. My apologies.
Hey everyone. Yeah, as far as red tape goes, we definitely want to minimize as much as we can in that. So like what Crystal said, for sure, full review of all bylaws and seeing what impacts business negatively and trying to get rid of those if we can. But as far as I've seen, and I've talked to like Sandy Clover from Titan Trailers and whatnot, and kind of Norfolk has been a pretty good place for them to do business, and she says Brant's called the County of Kent. So I mean, as far as we've had it and going on with our site plan and building plan for our brewery and zoning, I've heard that Norfolk County is one of the few counties that have a pre-consult meeting. So I mean, something like that, which was kind of a nominal fee and kind of you become, I don't know, you give full disclosure of what you're doing. Seems to me like the county works pretty good. But once again, yeah, a lot of the red tape isn't set in place from the councilors and mayor, but definitely would want to fight against it as much as we can with the planners in the province. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm probably the person at council that hates most of the red tape. Problem is that some of the province has dumped it on us and we have to deal with it. I think what we need to look at is what can we change, and to me, I don't think there's anything wrong with going through whatever that we have, all the rules and regulations, and we get more and more all the time, and to be honest with you, I don't like that idea. I think we need to have a look at it, and I'm hoping that somewhere, whether it's me or other people on the council, that they have a look at it, because people are getting, I guess, I'm mad about all the stuff that they have to go through, and they just can't seem to get through it. So I honestly believe that we need to do that change. Thank you. Whoops.
As for red tape, I work in the industry. I work as a project manager for the county of Brant. So I'm familiar with all the processes and whatnot involved with the Planning Act and the Municipal Act. They are not simple. But as per my platform, I would propose a review of all planning and permitting processes to streamline them and make them as easy as possible for anybody looking to do development in the county. The Planning Act, I find, sets the stage for an adversarial type of environment. That's something none of us should, no developer or anybody should have to deal with. So if you come in and you think you're not being treated fairly, let us know. We'll review the process and fix it, right? We have to work together, and we can cut all the red tape we want. So, thank you.
Most of the people that have spoken before have hit a lot of the suggestions, possibilities, so all I can say is if I'm voted for Ward 3 councillor, I will help to review the regulations and if possible, make changes with the county staff, etc. So thank you.
One would have to want to lose the election to say they like red tape, right? Anyway, as has been stated, it is a download from the province. We see it regularly at council. It's in health and social services and the delivery of foods from church basements that used to be happening. The sale of raffle tickets, which a lot of you has been involved with, where you have to just about sign your life away under the Alcohol and Gaming Commission, and the building codes and the Planning Act has been mentioned. Anyway, when I was in Ottawa at the AMO conference, Mayor Luke was there as well. We heard Doug Ford, the Premier of the province, speak at to several municipalities, and he did indicate to us that one of the first initiatives his government was going to do is to try to reduce red tape for municipalities. Thank you.
The reduction of red tape is one of the most volatile things we can deal with. And as a staff member for 39 years, I know what the mayor is saying. The only thing we can do as a staff member and council is to sit down with the various groups, look at what their problems are, and if we have to, go to the province and get the damn thing changed. That's the only way we'll get the red tape cleaned up. Staff don't make the rules. Council don't make the rules. It's set out in legislation. Council deals with approximately 200 provincial statutes every day. There's regulations. The clerk shall do this, the planner shall do that, the mayor shall do this, the councillor shall or shall not do this. Until we can sit down and look at the problems of every department, every person in this room has a problem. We've got to solve them, but the province is the sticker. And until we get the province on board, we can change them.
that's a tough act to follow because Mr. Geiler is absolutely right. But Ms. Chop and Mr. Luke both had great points. And it's all about working together on things and clearing things up and streamlining. And I know I'm stealing bits and pieces of everybody, but that's what happens when you're at the end, I guess. Matt had a really good point about just being able to go into a meeting and having that. Maybe it's all about education is a big thing, and educating people about programs like the one Matt and his friends were at to build the brewery and whatnot. But yeah, a little piece of everything. But Mr. Geiler hit it right on the nail there. And yeah, thanks.
Hi, again. Nobody likes red tape, but I do hope that eventually our children will get rid of the delusion that continuous growth is necessary. Anyone believes that you can have infinite growth in an area where resources are always going to be finite is either insane or an economist.
Our second chamber-prepared question.
Did we get the,
Sorry?
did we get the answer?
The answer.
Did we get to answer the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. We forgot word 4. Go ahead, yes. Sorry, Dean Morrison. I jumped the gun here.
Sorry about that. Good job. Actually, it's interesting. We had a group discussion about this very topic, and there was a lot of sense of frustration out there by developers or people coming into the area for economic development. I think we somehow can arrange like a concierge kind of service between economic development and planning staff. There are a lot of regulations, and I think if we could have someone work along with our developers and people that are coming into this area, it would definitely help them getting through the red tape. And I do know that a lot of people are keen when they come in. They want to develop. They love this area, but they do everything. They try to do everything right, and then they find out that they have to do this or they have to do that. Well, that has to be all laid out beforehand. And I think like with the pre-consult that Matt talked about, that's a step in the right direction. But I do believe that, you know, a major developer or even a small developer, we need to help them walk them through that process. That's so important because it just takes away the frustration. Thank you.
I don't want to cover a lot of things that have been said, but I've noticed over the years one of the slogans in Norfolk County is it's open for business. How about if we change that and say open to business? And it takes a little shift in the way we think as an organization. And somehow we got to convince everyone that works for Norfolk County, from the mayor, the council, all the way down in all the departments, that everyone is involved somehow as part of the economic development department. And if you can make that little shift where the employees actually help people to do their red tape, I think we'd achieve a lot right there. Thank you.
Sorry for that faux pas earlier there. When I saw Tim sat down at the far end of the wall, I thought that was the end of that. Must be the empty chair beside me that threw me off. The second question is also open to all 13 candidates present tonight. And the order in which we'll answer these ones will be the second person and then the third. So we'll begin with Russell and for the mayoralty candidates and end with Crystal and with Roger, etc. Many counties surrounding Norfolk County have seen an increase in business investment over recent years, yet Norfolk County seems to lag behind. How will you attract new business and/or investment to Norfolk County?
That's pretty similar to the last question. And it's all due to the red tape thing. We've already addressed that, so I can't add any more until the red tape problem is cleared up. Not a lot of people want to invest here. Thank you.
I'm kind of surprised at that question a little bit because I've been told by many of my colleagues when I'm on the WOWC meetings and other committees that Norfolk promotes itself very well. We have never had growth like we've had the last 4 years. We're almost 18 years old. I call us a teenager. And suddenly in the last 4 years, we've taken off with our building. 398 single-family dwellings created last year in this county, more than the city of Brantford, more than the city of Kitchener. Number one, create a climate. We're open for business, or we're open to business. Number two, my job in council and every citizen is to say positive things about this great county. You have to go out there and tell people what a great county we have. That's your job. That's my job. So I think that's very, very important. And finally, I would say that after the St. Williams meeting a week ago, a lady came up to me. She had called me. She reminded me she had called me 3 years ago and said, I got to get out of Niagara. The red tape is killing me. Well, how's Norfolk? I said, our arms will be open. Come and see me. She located a business that she's involved in that is a $10 million, it's a agriculture nutrient company. She said, the red tape in this county compared to Niagara is that big. I tried to pave a paving lot in Niagara Falls, and it took me 2.5 years to get a paving permit.
Thank God this comes back to the last question and gives me a second chance for another kick at the can. As someone who has experienced Norfolk's burdensome bureaucracy firsthand, I can tell you that what is happening in Norfolk County with regards to permits, things like site plan control, is not normal. It is not the same in every region, and it may be difficult in Niagara. I don't know. I'm not saying that other regions are perfect and Norfolk County is not, but there are challenges. Other regions have found ways to streamline permitting processes. They have found ways to streamline applications for site plan development. What I've seen in our county is extreme delays. The Good Bread Company, 2 years for a site plan approval to put a small business in a church that has been there for more than 100 years. You can't tell me there isn't something wrong with that process. Somebody that wants to put a garage on their piece of property. Why is it so difficult? There are regions where where permit applications are made online. It's a very simple process. We should not be making things more difficult for people than need be. What I've seen in our county as well, we are trying to raise revenue from permitting applications, from policy amendments, from zoning amendments, you name it, when they aren't necessary. 2 years of a delay in the case of the Good Bread Company, or 3 years of a delay in the case of a housing development. Imagine the tax revenue that has been lost over that period of time.
Thank you. As far as I'm concerned, we have, basically, I'm going to talk about my ward. We have Titan Trailers, who has spent $30,000 to put that factory into, he may have got some money from the province or from the feds, I'm not 100% certain. But there are jobs out there. And yes, there may be some things that red tape can hold it back. But we are growing, and especially in Norfolk, in Ward 2, Cadman Power Equipment, they are looking for workers. They are putting across the world with their irrigation systems and everything like that. So there is something that is being done. Trackless vehicles shipping all through Canada and the United States. So there are things happening since we became Norfolk County rather than the region. So we are, yes, we need to look at some of the red tape. That's going to help somewhat, but I'm telling you, there is growth, and there will be more growth, because if, actually, to tell you the truth, that Cortland is the closest to the 401 highway for anyone in Norfolk County. So I'm very happy to what's happening with our area, and I certainly want to keep it going, and that's what I'm going to continue to do if I get elected. Thank you.
I have to agree with Roger. Cortland does seem to be booming. I drive through it every day. That's where I live. But yes, I do hear a lot about businesses just not having a good time working with the county. What do I propose is we get our economic development people out there busting their hump. Where I work in Norfolk County, or Brant County, sorry, we built the Brant 403 Business Park. Eventually, the county took on, not incredibly successful, but it is built out. Not incredibly successful from a financial standpoint, I should say, but it is built out quite quickly. It had a 15-year plan, and it's taken 7 years to build out, to sell all the property in that business park. The county's looking at developing interchanges that will help support access to highways in this county. And maybe that's what we need to do, is work with our neighbors. Work with our neighbors to, you know, if there's a business that's good for Norfolk, send them our way. If there's a business that's good for our neighbors, send them their way. Thank you.
60 seconds isn't going to be enough for this, but I think the biggest thing we all need to do is kind of, especially in our ward, is maintain infrastructure. So roads and internet, keep those great. And farming and industry, we want to keep those first. I mean, that's what Norfolk is and about. But I think a big thing for us is to push agritourism. I mean, I think we're 15 acres or 10 acres away from being a VQA region. I mean, push the craft beer scene. I mean, Norplex is a big issue right now. I think Norplex is a great idea. I mean, with Norplex, we attract younger families, just people kind of remaining in the area. With Norplex, we can kind of work with Fanshawe, and then from there, if you have a college, I mean, you can attract a university presence. I mean, they kind of follow suit, it seems like. But I mean, there's a lot more issues, like that's a pretty wide range of things that I just mentioned, but I mean, that's, I think, how we grow business in the area, is keeping families and keeping young people working here. Thanks.
Mike Columbus, you can begin with Ward 3.
I consider myself a pro-development counselor, and I feel I'm fairly well connected to the business community. And I can say that I believe that economic activity here in Norfolk in all sectors, agriculture, manufacturing, residential development, is quite brisk at this time. Just look at the number of building permits that have been put out. And even in the town of Delhi today, if you drive through the downtown, you'll see very few vacant storefronts compared to what there was in previous years. And also, there's very little vacant industrial space available for people who would want to set up shop here in manufacturing. So if anybody wants to cough up some bucks, put a building up, employ some people, that's the way to do it. Thank you.
Well, I think for growing business in the county, the best thing is our businesses that we have. They bring business, and if we encourage our local business, our manufacturers, and more particularly our farmers, they will bring the businesses that we need to grow in the county. Thank you.
It's a good question, but kind of the same question as the last one. But for me, I've always been known as a next level person. Doesn't matter whether it's sports or business or newspapers, whatever. I've always taken things to the next level. And listening to that question, thinking outside of the box and recruitment, investing your time is a big thing. I go back to when I was at the Woodstock Sentinel Review. You go back to Mayor Mike Harding at the time. Does anybody know how Toyota actually came to Woodstock? it wasn't by just sitting there. Everybody in Woodstock was wondering why Mayor Harding and a group of people were constantly going to Japan. They thought it was just a joy trip. A couple years later, all of a sudden, announcement, Toyota is here, and as a result, we have Toyota. We're reaping the benefits, so are they. So I think what we need to do, and like Joe said, economic development, we have to maybe get them and have a team to maybe recruit small businesses, maybe like in Simcoe at the Viking Bakery is a perfect example of that. People coming in from Toronto for business. Let's talk to their friends, bring more people, more businesses into our towns, and that's what we need. Thank you.
Okay, Les?
Thank you. From being first to being last for Ward 3. I'm going to agree with Charlie Luke in the regards to, yes, Norfolk has seen tremendous growth in the past few years, but let's talk about Delhi, okay, Ward 3. We have 2 underdeveloped industrial parks here in Delhi. Businesses have moved out, buildings are empty. So what I'm looking at is trying to attract some more industry in Delhi, industry that will bring more businesses. It'll keep the young people in town. They'll have somewhere to work. It'll help revitalize the downtown core. So thank you very much.
It's one of these good questions, and I've thought about this for many years, sitting on the sidelines watching. And when are we going to start looking at the future? Quit looking at the past. Business can't expand because, well, there's not enough hydro service. Let's sit down and talk to Hydro One, increase the capacity or get a plan together. Business can't expand. There's not enough water and sewer services in a bunch of the municipalities or in the urban areas. Let's get a plan together. Let's start looking to what we need in the future, not what's sitting there now, and try to make things fit. Business will come when all the conditions are right, and what we can do is make those conditions right for them.
I agree there's 2 components. There's the small business side and the big business side. On the small business side, there's a lot of people coming out and doing work, living here and working somewhere else, but they're working from home. And in order to do that, we need a better internet service provider or a higher speed. The internet service I know in our area is not very good. And it's not conducive for anyone that would like to do business and out of town. Also, what I'd like to see too, and because there is a change in provincial government, we do have maybe the keys to the cupboard this time. And we can also try to push for, I believe a lot of areas that are really expanding are having a 4-link access or a 400 series access. I believe that 59 to Woodstock would be an ideal candidate if the Conservatives put their money where their mouth is. They would look at investing into this area. That would be key to attracting the automotive sector jobs and also other jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. It's time to move on now to the questions prepared by members of the audience. And the first one is directed to the Ward 4 candidates. What are your plans for water management on the streets of Turkey Point, and what do you see as the future for Turkey Point? And we'll begin with Dean Morrison.
Thank you very much. I'm actually good friends with Tom Bowen, who's the water person down there now. And anyway, that's a really good question, because if Turkey Point wants to be a true full-blown year-round area, they have to maybe start looking at hard services, and that's a tough pill to swallow, I think. Right now, I think people are happy with what they have. They like to get the union gas in, I know that, they like to get the gas down there. But maybe, you know, maybe we'll have to cross that bridge someday, but I think right now, I believe that we're okay.
I think that's been a discussion down there as long as I can remember about, at some point, you know, let's look into the cost of getting treated water, whether it's a new plant, whether it's piped in from the Port Rowan plant through St. Williams and down to Turkey Point. I think the bigger issue immediately is get union gas down there and see if we can get that one through. And let's review that little bit of an issue we had with our staff telling us how much they're gonna charge us to pump out holding tanks and septic tanks that are down there. I think that's ridiculous, and we need to get that changed first, and we'll deal with the water systems later.
This next question is directed to the Ward 3 candidates. Why are existing facilities continuing to be left in disrepair, yet monies are being allocated for a new facility? For example, Delhi baseball community was promised over 10 years ago to have the water line reconnected. However, to date, it has not been connected. This directly impacts the ability to generate revenues and the ability to partner with Norfolk County to fund improvements. Would you promise to make a commitment to deliver? And we'll begin with Albert Geiler.
I understand the question is they want a water system in there, or a water line in their place. I think you have to look at it. Is there the budget there? Is the money there for it? When this county is $5.2 million in deficit, and we have to raise money, we have to look at needs, not wants. That is a want, and we can't afford it right now until that budget is paid. And that money is going to come on our tax bills in the next year or two because the province will not let us carry a deficit. So any of the wants that are coming along are going to have to be deferred until that budget is paid.
That's actually a really good question, and during Fall Fest, actually, I had some hot dogs with some of the members of Minor Ball, and we were actually talking about that. And you are correct, it is a want, but it is actually a need as well. To retain, probably I'm going to put my predictor hat on, and one of the questions tonight is going to be about how do we retain youth. We need our amenities, and a minor baseball field or a baseball field is a main cog in Delhi. Minor sports, whether it's the co-ed slow pitch league, those are the key cogs in the wheel of Delhi, and we do need water. The lights need fixing badly. I've played on that ball diamond, maybe not for Delhi, but sorry. But you lose the ball in the lights. The lights are atrocious, and especially during that windstorm last year that knocked down the light stand. It was nice that they put it up, but it wasn't properly done. Another thing, we could probably put a little bit of red clay on there, and it would be nice to have. And again, we're not only host of tournaments, but we also partake in helping host OBA tournaments and or provincial tournaments, sorry. And it is a need, especially for if we want to keep young people in this town. Thank you.
Hello again. If elected, I promise I would take the money from the savings from the water fluoridation budget and would get that water hooked up right away. Thank you very much.
How can you follow that? Well, I guess I'm moving. As mentioned, everybody or every organization, baseball, hockey, etc., has wants. The possibility. How about fundraising? Thank you.
Actually, this is the first I've heard of this issue. No one's ever called me. I'm as close as my telephone. No one's ever called me, but I can tell you, I will make the phone call tomorrow morning to the Community Services Department and have it included in the capital budget. I will ask for the council to have it approved in the capital budget that's coming up in October. Thank you.
This question is for the mayoralty candidates. What do you feel is the top issue facing the county? And we'll begin with Charlie Luke.
I'll tell you exactly from my perspective on what our biggest challenge is. You're not going to like what I tell you. Our auditors tell us year after year, your reserves are low, you don't tax your people enough. Now, you don't want to hear that. There's no doubt we're the lowest taxed comparative municipality out of 28 done by BMA study every year. We are the lowest of 28. We have had a tax increase over the last 6 years that averages 1.75. We cannot continue to dip into reserves. You've heard somebody say that there's a $6 million deficit. This lady in yellow is correct. But if you looked at the actual budget last year in 2017, we budgeted 81 million. We had a surplus at the end of 1.1. So how could we be 6 million? Ken Hewitt called me.
30 seconds.
He called me on the phone on the way to Delhi tonight, and he thanked me for the over $3 million check that we were told we must pay them recently for 18 years of arbitration, where Haldeman challenged in arbitration the asset settlement between Haldeman and Norfolk. We paid that. That went on to the audited statement budget actual that Crystal is talking about. What do you do when you had a bad winter last year? When your snow budget now is spent, do you lock the snow plows up and say, sorry, no more snow plow till next year? That was $940,000 last winter. That's the problem. We don't collect enough money to pay to cover the cost.
I'm going to have to agree with Charlie on this one. I believe Norfolk's financial health is one of the greatest concerns. I will not agree with him that we ran a $1 million surplus. If anybody takes the time this evening when they go home to check out their financial statements, you will notice two columns. One has a note 17, the other to the right does not. Note 17 represents the numbers under the PSAB accounting standards that were mandated by the government. Norfolk County is one of the few counties that still uses both versions, the old accounting version and the version that has been mandated by the provincial government. Why do they use both? I don't know. I guess we're going to have to ask Charlie that question next time. Norfolk County is running a deficit. That is an issue. How do we raise further revenue? Certainly, it's not by increasing our taxes. It's by increasing taxable assets. That means that, again, it comes back to red tape. We need to relax our planning department, relax our regulations. When you do an improvement on your home, what does that do? It increases the value of your asset and means your taxes are raised proportional to that increase in the asset. Again, attracting new business to the area. The faster we build homes, the faster we build businesses, again, in keeping with standards. Nobody is suggesting people don't have to meet building codes or so on. But our revenue is going to come in that much faster. To say that we're making money off of permitting and development fees, that's the wrong approach.
This one's an easy one. The list of infrastructure issues is huge and worthy of our attention. Dams, bridges, roads, and so on. However, the largest and most important, and yet the most neglected infrastructure in the county is her people. They are the very foundation of what Norfolk is built on. Sadly, the foundation is fractured. Only portions get attention, the rest is neglected due to the indifference. At the end of the day, this election and all elections are truly about the people, or at least that's how it should be. Equal representation for all residents has always been a #1 priority in every election I've ran in, including this one. I've been fighting this battle for 12 years now to bring this issue into the light. So here I am, and that's the #1 issue to me. Thank you.
This question is for the ward candidates from the 3 wards represented here tonight, and we'll begin with Ward 2 to answer. What do you feel is the top issue facing your ward and the county? And we'll begin with Joe Murphy.
Can't really think of anything for our ward. I don't really hear complaints, and I don't really hear anybody saying anything. Maybe road conditions. We don't have much servicing out our way. We don't have much of anything out our way. We do have, it's not like Simcoe or Dover or Delhi, right? But yeah, I can't really think of anything right off the top of my head. County-wise, I hear everybody wants change. I hear everybody wants cutting red tape. I hear everybody wants to easier county to deal with. I think that's probably the county's biggest challenge. But for Ward 2, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. So, thanks.
Yeah, Ward 2 is actually, it's pretty easy. We have the good life up down there. I would say, yeah, just basically infrastructure, roads, and infrastructure also, fiber optic internet. I know that's a big thing for people. I mean, for the county too, but we could make Norfolk a serious tech hub, really, because it's a great area to live and there's a lot to do. And if we have fiber optic, it's kind of endless what people can do in the county. Thanks.
Well, I got to say, I agree with Matt. I think what we need is fiber optics that actually, but the problem is the costs, and that's the unfortunate thing, I guess. There are certainly people complaining in Long Point and in all areas, and even in Cortland, saying we don't have what we should have for our computers and everything like that. So I'm not sure what the answer is going to be or whatever, but certainly I do agree that we need to look at some of our roads, especially in our ward. We are in the process, I guess. It'll be sometime next spring when they will put another bridge on where the on 45 and get rid of that old rickety bridge that they have now. And somebody, I think, Waterford wants it for something, but I'm not sure, but I'll gladly give it to them, so thank you.
We'll start with Daryl Smart for the Ward 3 candidates.
If you guys would like some fiber optics, come to Delhi. It's great. Thank you. Stream all day, all night. It's great. As far as an issue, the biggest one, it's cohesion, collaboration. I know I'm stealing a term from a friend of mine that's running in a different ward. She says it all the time, and I'm going to use it. It's her birthday, so I'm going to say collaboration. In Delhi, we've got some great gems. We've got some great associations like the Chamber of Commerce and the BIA. They have to come together a little bit more. We have to do a little bit more collaboration. Fall Fest was a great example of that. It was great. You guys did a great job. And again, a little more collaboration. There was some great steps taken this year. But if there's a little bit more collaboration, we can take that next level next year. And as far as Norfolk, it's pretty obvious. The collaboration is key. All the wards, they talk about wardism. We have to work together. The Squabbing's got a split in the old Township of Delhi, Township of Norfolk, City of Nanticoke, Town of Simcoe ideals. We got to erase those things. We're all one Norfolk, and Delhi needs the rest of Norfolk needs Delhi, and Delhi needs the rest of Norfolk. Thank you.
Hello again. The biggest issue in Delhi and Ward 3 is water quality. I asked my department head, my science department head, if I could get some hydrofluoric acid in my lab, and unfortunately it's a little bit too toxic for us to bring into the schools. I could distill it from our water in Simcoe or Delhi, but I guess that's, thank you.
Some issues for Delhi. What we're looking at is the condition of our local roads, basically infrastructure, promoting and bringing in manufacturing, which will then of course bring in new business, keep our youth in town, allow the sustainability of our existing businesses. I've already talked about our two great industrial parks that are underutilized. Revitalizing the downtown core. Okay, that brings in tourists and visitors. And then, of course, it was touched on trying to get our local service and business organizations to work together for the betterment of our community. The Delhi BIA, Delhi Chamber of Commerce, Rotary Club, Delhi Kinsman, etc. What I see problem basically for Norfolk County as a whole is they say they're open for business, and the different organizations, the service clubs have run into or encountered little problems trying to get their festivals, etc. going. So on that note, thank you very much.
I believe the question was the biggest issue facing our ward and Norfolk County as a whole. Anyway, I agree. It certainly is deteriorating roads. You can go down every few kilometers, there's potholes. So I think the new council should put an extra effort into fixing those. Also, it was mentioned the viability of the downtown is very important. So I would suggest that some attention be given to that in the future. And in the rural areas, we hear a lot about it. It's the reliable internet. A lot of large farm operations have a hard time struggling with their buyers of vegetables, and because the internet hookup is not reliable. We also have to maintain and enhance our economic activity to keep our people employed and make sure people don't slide into the poverty level. Thank you.
Mike stole my thunder about the roads, and I have to agree with him. I've been out on just about every road in the ward this week. But there is one problem, and that's the problem in the northern part of the ward is red tape. People want to get things done. We've got to get after them and get it straightened out so they can build on their farms, they can build on their properties. And until we do that, we're in trouble.
I do believe that probably the biggest issue in my area it would be probably internet service. Also, too, roads are always important. I mean, the roads have deteriorated over the last probably 6 or 7 years. That is one big issue as well. The Turkey Point area, I believe with the Ordnance Beach, the Phragmite issue, I mean, that's a small issue, but it's a huge issue because Phragmites are choking out all our wetlands in our inner bay. And that's a huge threat to our whole environment down by the bay. And if we don't take care of it, and I'm glad to see that finally the province has kind of woken up to it. I remember 12 years ago, I was on council, and we fought the same issue about Phragmites. And I tell you, it's a very serious issue for our wetlands. And thank you.
Yeah, Dean makes a good point about how long it takes to get the province to do anything, but we need to work with them, get those frag cleaned up, get that beach in Turkey Point cleaned up, get internet. But I think the bigger issue in Ward 4 is, if you look on a map, we're the only ward without an urban area. We have a bunch of little hamlets and things. And I think we've been the forgotten little corner for way too long. Like, you look at our 10-year capital budget, the only major expense in Ward 4 in the next 10 years is one new fire truck for Vittori Fire Hall. So October 22nd, we're going to reintroduce ourselves to council.
The next question is for all of the candidates here, and it's a pretty loaded one. Why do we need a hub recreation facility when we can't even fix the roads in the urban areas of Norfolk County, never mind the rural areas? Also, recently an in-camera session looked at a home for the hub. Why is this not being brought out before the election? Also, do you support raising minor hockey rates in all communities to pay for the hub? And we'll begin with the mayoralty candidates, starting with Crystal.
I know this is a tough one for people to digest, and I've learned a lot since I've embarked on this road. The hub right now, the idea behind it in its simplest terms is to replace 4 of the aging facilities in Simcoe. Those 4 facilities are going to need to be replaced regardless of what happens, regardless of whether there's a complex somewhere else. We know we have to replace those 4 facilities. Staff estimates, I believe, came in somewhere around $12 million. There is an opportunity right now with the province to get somewhere in the vicinity of 30 million plus in extra funding. That funding would be lost if we don't do something. So the alternative is we simply put a Band-Aid repair, we spend the 12 million on those facilities, and we lose out on the provincial funding that's available. With regards to the selection of a location, I was surprised myself to read in the Reformer the day after the last council meeting that
30 seconds.
the locations had been narrowed to several possible locations. I say surprised because I heard rumors coming out of that council, that in-camera council meeting that evening, that suggested in fact that council had selected the future site of the hub. That to me is a problem. To my understanding, we're in a lame duck council, and I'm not sure why the existing council is making decisions behind closed doors without publicly revealing the criteria for the selection of these sites.
I am in support of the hub in principle. I'm not privy to all the behind-the-scenes information right now and where all the funding's coming from, but I certainly wouldn't hope we'd have to raise our money through the kids here. I'm sure Charlie can speak better to the groundwork that's been laid so far. Thank you.
To have any type of multi-recreational facility in Norfolk, we need provincial and federal funding on a $40 million project. If we don't get $30 million, there'll be no hub. It's that simple. We can't afford to pay debenture of that size. So we got to get an application and see. Simcoe Aging Facilities Senior Center, the rec center, it's been in the capital budget of 5.4 million has been placed in there probably back in 2008, 2006. Pool doesn't last forever. Senior center doesn't last forever, especially when it's 1858, I don't know when it's built. Yes, we did go in camera because the provincial legislature says their policy, when you go in camera, that involves land acquisition, you must be in closed session. If we didn't, somebody take us to the ombudsman or sue us. We do that. We negotiate and we make selection on land acquisition. So no one site was selected. It was narrowed down from the original 14 sites. It's been narrowed down.
30 seconds.
And how the heck, if you were going to buy a parcel of property, how would you do that in open session? Gee, we would like to buy your farm for a recreation center, and we're going to do it publicly on the front page of the paper. As soon as word gets out you're looking, I think everybody says, I think the price of my property is going up. It would be ridiculous to have that. So council, I can assure you, has done nothing illegal last Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie has a good point. The province put aside $750 million in funding given to these community projects. Crystal, there's also federal funding for like another 30%. So I mean, exactly, if we don't come up with 30%, or I mean 30 million for the 40 million that it's going to cost, it doesn't make sense. Being in Ward 2 and hopefully becoming councillor and living there for the next 90 years or so, site selection would be, it's pretty important to us because everything seems to be, at least from our point of view, like Simcoe and Dover and that area. I mean, they were looking at Decoux and Ireland Road, which would be the east side of Simcoe, but then I just saw the picture in the paper of the arena at the fairgrounds, which isn't a bad idea because it's already owned by the city of Simcoe. I already looked at that. But as far as the hub goes, I'm pro hub, and yeah, that's my side. Thanks.
Well, I guess I'm going to say, first of all, when we had the, I was against the hub. Unfortunately, I didn't make it. There was 4 out of 5, and when those types of things that come along, once the majority has said that they were going to go forward with a hub, and certainly I have to say one thing about Simcoe. Certainly they have problems with the arena, the seniors, and the pool. The pool, they're all as old as anything. So whether it's whoever's going to take this over, I think it's important that we look at. I don't know what the province is going to do. We don't know. I know there's money set aside that they tell us, but now I hear that the deficit is much more than they were thought with the Liberals, so I'm not so sure what's going to happen. But theoretically, what happens, we will see what the new council has to say and everything, and we'll go from there. That's all I can tell you. Thank you very much.
So I have to say that I'm in favor of the hub, as long as we get the provincial and federal funding to support it. As for the location, I would propose the location be in an area that would support the downtown and support traffic in the downtown and people using the downtown more often. As for property acquisition and going into closed session, I've done many property acquisitions at my current job at the County of Brant. Typically, you sit down with the people prior, and we present through public consultation what site may be the best. It's true, you do have to go into closed session when you start talking names and prices and the details of that acquisition, but when you're just selecting a site, you don't have to go closed session.
We'll start with Tim Sullivan for the Ward 3 candidates.
Okay, I'll give it a break for a second here. I'm big on the new hub as well, but we do have to be careful that existing facilities and other centers are not neglected at for that. And I wouldn't be surprised, and it's obvious that we do have to go to the province and to the federal government in order to get assistance and funding. If they'll cough up money for a coconut processing factory to support our local coconut farmers, a hub should be a pretty easy one to get money from them for. Thank you.
And my thoughts are pretty well the same as the rest of the group. I do support the Norplex. My only concern, of course, is site selection. Well, actually, I have a couple of concerns. Looking at putting it more to the center of Norfolk County. Okay, now I hear the center is Teeterville, so let's move it a little bit further over to Delhi. Okay, but that's my thoughts. My only other concern is, we know that this is going to be inevitable. Okay, sports complexes of this nature are popping up all over in little small communities. I think one opened a couple of weeks ago just north of London. My concern is we have to ensure that our existing community centers and ice rinks are not neglected and dropped because we had this new center. Thank you.
Charlie did a good job of mentioning the reason for going in camera. I was at that meeting, and I just wanted to say that unless 2/3 of the dollars come, that's the way the motion reads, it's right here. Unless at least 2/3 of the money does not come from the federal and provincial government, there will be no hub. There could be individual buildings built without calling it a hub, like the pool or the senior center in Simcoe. So in the motion, I asked for a cost analysis of each component of the proposed facility under consideration. I also asked that staff provide an estimate of property tax impact of such a multi-use facility to the average Norfolk County homeowner over a 20-year period. Also, that I mentioned a standalone project of each facility, and that each multi-use recreational facility, including activities and programs, will not negatively impact activities and programs and opportunities in other facilities of Norfolk County. And again, if there's not 2/3 dollars available from the feds and the province, we may not have a hub. Thank you.
I better make this one quick because I could probably talk for 10 hours, sorry. But obviously, I've made no bones about it in columns and stories I've written. I am for this thing. Location, these are one of the things that needs to be, the biggest issue is education. Nobody's going to lose an arena. Langton's not going to lose an arena. Delhi's not going to lose an arena. Waterford's not going to lose an arena. Dover's not. Another thing we have to educate ourselves about is the location. My daughter played basketball in London. I wasn't afraid to drive an hour for my kid to play basketball, the best basketball possible. Minor hockey parents don't care how far they have to drive, as long as their kid gets on the ice. That's what matters. All we have to do is look at a place like Pelham. They opened up 2 weeks ago, I believe. Pelham, there's minor basketball associations from Pelham, St. Catharines, Thorold, Niagara Falls, Port Colborne, if I didn't say that, and Pelham, all playing at this complex. Minor hockey associations playing, they're bringing all of Niagara together now. Niagara Falls, the Southern Tier Admirals AAA team play there now, Port Colborne and Pelham all play there, plus a junior B team. This is a need, and the biggest thing we have to do is educate ourselves about what truly the hub is about. It's not about arenas. It's about lifestyle. It's about recreation. It's about my baby daughter. It's about seniors. It's about everybody. Thank you.
Just knew we weren't going to get through tonight without talking about a hub for some reason. I've said this many times before, the concept behind the hub is correct. That's the way to go, but we can't just base it on a whim. And, you know, I've been asking questions for over a year about what are the real costs of keeping the existing facilities in Simcoe up to standards, you know, like the senior center especially, that's 10 years overdue. You know, if the repairs for the next 20 years is $25 million and we can build a new one for $25 million, that's a no-brainer. But like I would never go build a house and just tell a builder to go build it and then send me a bill when you're done and tell me what you built me. We have no idea what we really want either. So let's figure out what we want, where we can put it, how much that would cost, are the feds in the province on board, and then we make a decision on it. No, we don't make the decision to build it first and then figure out what it is. Okay.
I too have stated that I'm in favor of the hub, and I do agree that it won't affect other local or local arenas. I do believe that the hub has a lot of micro benefits to it, from attracting people to our area, to living, and also investing in factories and economic development. I do believe that I think the cost was around $28 million, if I'm not mistaken, to replace all the existing facilities. And I mean, if through the provincial public partnership, it's usually a one-third, one-third, one-third. One-third municipality, one-third Ontario, one-third Fed. And really, this whole thing hinges on that. But I do believe that we have to come up with a location and a conceptual idea of what we want to make application to that process. So let's go forward, see where we go, and if we get the benefit of the provincial and federal funding, I say go for it.
The next question is for all of the candidates as well, and we'll begin with the mayoralty candidates, starting with Russell Colebrook. What programs would you put in place to retain and provide opportunities for youth in Norfolk County?
I don't know what all the existing programs are, excuse me, at this time, but whatever is already in place I would support and work with community groups to find more things for the youth. Thank you.
You know, it's not uncommon when your kids head out of high school, they move away usually, not always, some of them go into the world, but it's not unusual for your kids to go away to the city to get an education or college or learn a skill, and then many of them aren't able to come back because we don't have the types of jobs that pay what they can get with their skills. We can't be all to everybody, so we have to do the best we can with what we have. We are Ontario's garden. Our farmers, with their technology, we are the most diverse farming area in Canada. We should be proud of that. And I know that a lot of farming jobs are seasonal and they don't pay big money. I get that. But our farmers are doing amazing work. So how do we attract young kids? Well, how about some high-speed internet? The SWIFT program, of which Norfolk County is contributing to, and we don't have to, that was a council decision. We are not utility providers. We don't provide telephone. We don't provide satellite TV. It's not our mandate. But we have been paying over 5 years, 30 seconds? I'll be quick. We have been paying money to the SWIFT program, which will, at this point, is now, as far as Windsor in the ground, high-speed cable fiber that it hopes to bring to every household in Norfolk County cable hookup. The projected finish is sometime between the spring of 2019 and the fall of 2020. That is
That's time, thank you.
that is the projected time, and that'll bring jobs.
I think building and establishing a business here in Norfolk should be easy. When you walk in the front door of our county offices, the sign should read, "How can we help you?" Our youth need reasons to come back here. Agriculture, industry, it's all changing, and as a result, our bylaws need to reflect changing times. Things aren't the same as they were 20 years ago. In terms of agriculture, there are programs for young farmers. We need to be adapting our bylaws to reflect the changing times, from value-added on-site production, processing, bioproducts, and so on. I think ultimately, again, it just all comes back to red tape. In terms of our youth, also, we need to give them reasons to come back here in terms of activities for their kids and so on. So things like creating the hub will ultimately, I believe, have significant cascading benefits.
This question kind of hits home to me because I recently just graduated. So I've seen a lot of my friends, and unless you were born into a cash cropping business or tobacco that's now become a thriving ginseng operation, or a poultry family, or kind of one of those sectors where your family has business, it's kind of tough to find your way. So I mean, the biggest thing would be just kind of promoting promoting what we have now, like Titan's doing unreal things and they employ a lot of people, but I mean, the hub would attract a lot of younger people, and then from the hub, like I said earlier, if you get a college presence, you get a university presence, and kind of train people on that, and then really push what we're in ag now, get the agritourism dollars, and then get more people, and then that creates more jobs for people. Thanks.
I thought was to talk about the youth. What are we going to do for the youth in Norfolk County? And especially, I look at my own ward again, and I guess because of what basically, the computers and the fiber optics and everything like that, they're not here, but they're fairly decent in my area, but there are areas where you don't get anything like that, and that's basically what there is. We have swings, we have teeter-totters, we have everything in Cortland, but the kids just don't use it. I think they stay at home and go through that process. At one time, there still is a baseball, but nobody uses it. There's nothing used anymore. I don't know where the kids are going and what they're doing. I guess they're at home and playing with their computer. And unfortunately, I don't know how we change that. Somehow or other, there are some that will go to Delhi for hockey, to go to Delhi, and some may go to Langton and everything like that, but there isn't a whole lot. And the other thing is, I guess, because of the closity to Tillsonburg, some of those may go into Tillsonburg for hockey and all the other things that happen there. So theoretically, I wish I could say I had a magic wand but kids will find something that they can do, and I hope it's not something they shouldn't be doing. Thank you.
I think I agree with most people. High-speed internet is probably the one thing, because everybody needs to have their Netflix and their Apple TV and their IP boxes, and everything has to work. It has to work like that. Otherwise, they don't want to be there. The other thing is these things. We need reception everywhere. My phone does not work in my home. It does not work. I do not have reception. So we need to somehow get the cell companies doing the same. I think those are the biggest things. Having services, like the kids move to these centers where they have the universities and they have all the services right there at their fingertips. We need to have the same in our communities here. I understand we're rural, and I believe the youth understand that as well. I understand it. I live in a rural area. I have to drive to do things. But I think they get used to that. Services at their fingertips. So we need to make services at their fingertips. And the biggest ones are internet and cell reception.
We'll start with Les Burda to answer to begin with the Ward 3 candidates.
Just a quick again, because I think I've touched on the subject, bring industry, keep the young people in. Through the years, the small farms, the mom and pop farms, the kids used to come back and work on the farm. Well, now we're seeing the large farms using offshore workers, so of course the youth have nowhere to come. Thank you.
The question, I believe, was programs for youth in Norfolk County, and I took that as being recreational programs to keep them busy. And it was mentioned earlier that the electronic age, the programs that you need to run your phone and the things that kids like to play with today is important. So there is movement that way with respect to the introduction of the SWIFT program that's coming down from the federal and provincial governments. And first of all, I just want to thank the volunteers for their gifted time to keep minor baseball, soccer, minor hockey alive, to ensure that the kids today have the exercise that they need and keep them off the streets. Thank you.
Providing recreation for our younger people is kind of a difficult one, because what we're finding is the demographics aren't there. We're closing up ballparks, we're closing up soccer pitches. And it's not just because we don't have it, they're not using it, and we don't have the number of children we have. The household has fallen. We have to look at high-speed internet, the various games, Netflix, and whatever you want. You push one outside and they say, we don't want to go out there and play baseball. We want to play war games or something on the internet. They don't get their exercise, which we try to provide for them. But the biggest problem is then they leave and we lose them anyway to high-speed industry, high-tech industry, and they don't come home and they don't use the facilities.
I'd just like to say my wife, we're both from the area. She lived in Toronto for 10, 12 years. Don't kill me for not knowing that one. But you came back. I lived in Tillsonburg, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls. I came back. Matt came back, his cousin Dusty, he came back as well. So there's a little bit of a misconception on that. But with that said, you're asking about programming. It's obviously the amenities. We need amenities for recreation. Delhi Minor Baseball had its best showing this year as far as registration is concerned, Simcoe Minor Baseball as well. I know minor hockey's faltering a lot, but that's just a cyclical thing. But as far as programming, it's pretty easy. Norfolk County just has to look to Tillsonburg. I play volleyball in Tillsonburg. The town of Tillsonburg runs a brilliant volleyball league, pickleball, badminton. We just have to look to our neighbors for examples of just retaining youth and keeping us all engaged, actually. Thank you.
All right. Hello again. For the youth, true story from Norfolk County Council. Dennis from Port Dover stood up and in defense of water fluoridation policy, indicating that we could not get rid of this because there was so low incidence of cavities in his clientele from Port Dover. At which point, a good friend of mine stood up who works for Norfolk County in the water department and pointed out that Port Dover does not have water fluoridation. It is a fallacy that it actually controls cavities. If you take a look at dental fluorosis, you realize what fluoride, the most electronegative element on the periodic table, actually reduces bone density. So, for the youth of this county, I would provide them with fresh, clean, fluoride-free water. Thank you.
That's a hard one to follow, but I would say internet is still probably the big thing, even though we'd like to see our kids more active. I do know that there's a lot of youth golf camps that are out there during the summer period. We still have our minor ball programs, and we have our hockey programs, and we have a lot of good programs for kids. If there's ever need, or if someone came forward, I remember my son and I, we live close to the Waterford area. We're on the northern part of Ward 4. Anyway, we live close to the Waterford area, and we approached my son and I approached the Lions Club to put in a skateboard park. And they all kind of, well, where's the money coming from, you know? So, but it comes down to, I think we have quite a few good services here that are conducive to kids, but probably kids want is higher speed internet. So, thank you.
I see the question's been answered two ways all across the room. So Dean did it one way. I'll look at it from the other point of view. Giving our youth a reason to come back to Norfolk County, and maybe we've got to look a little bit farther than Norfolk County, and let's put some pressure on governments. Every year they graduate way too many university grads in master's degree in fluff, and what do we really need? You know, where are the millwrights, the welders, the mechanics, the machinists, all the jobs that are in Rogers' ward? They can't find people to do that. Is it time that we put some more pressure on the province of Ontario to put some more funding into the apprenticeship programs, into those skilled trade programs, and let's move on that way?
We have time for two more questions before we adjourn. This next one is for the mayoralty candidates and those running in Ward 3. What are your thoughts on how we revitalize Delhi's downtown? And we'll start with Charlie Luke.
I was at Fall Fest 4 times on the weekend with my wife. We walked downtown. Some of the stores certainly look wonderful, and some of the stores, yeah, they need some work. We couldn't find a vacant store downtown. That's a start. So I think, you know, we've invested $2 million in a downtown library. Former steel foundry site will be developed, 5 commercial floors on the main level, and upstairs will be apartments. It's coming. So again, how do we encourage it? We work from within. We work with our chambers, our business improvement, with our local business people, and we work with them. And we have provided some programs like a storefront facade that store owners can match front to front. Dollar to dollar for their fronts. So, you know, folks, it's not going to be an event. You know, retail has really went the wrong way over the years, and we know why. Have you ever ordered a parcel over the internet? Have you ever went to a shopping mall? I mean, the downtowns were developed in the days when people came to town from the rural area in a horse and buggy, and they could do everything downtown. Then they invented this thing called an automobile, and now you can jump in it and go anywhere and shop, and that's the reality.
Again, I think this comes back to building and establishing a business here in Norfolk should be welcome and easy. Staff should be helping instead of putting up barriers. We need to, again, go back to that bylaw review, make it easier for people. We also need to provide services and amenities to encourage those from outside the community to come into Norfolk and want to establish a business and a life here. I think a lot, we've seen the shift to the big box stores as small towns were decimated by Walmarts and so on. We need to get back to creating that sense of community in our downtowns. And for that, we need to make life not so difficult for our volunteers that do things like throwing festivals and throwing events that essentially draw people to our downtowns and create a reason for being there.
All level of government, all three of them are intrusive. And the most intrusive is municipal government. They've got a bad habit of sticking their nose into things where it doesn't belong, like my backyard. If I want chickens there, I'll have them. But anyway, to the downtowns. Actually, Delhi, I think, has a pretty good downtown. You want to compare it to Simcoe, where I spent most time driving cabs in Simcoe. A lot of the problem is if it's empty places, it's the owners. You got to maintain them. You can't just let them go, pay your taxes, or wait until they go up for a tax sale. So, council shouldn't micromanage our lives. I don't like them butting into mine, and I don't want to butt into yours. Thank you.
Mike Columbus, we'll start with you for the Ward 3 candidates.
This question's about revitalization of downtown Delhi, and want to make it crystal clear, as Crystal did, that it's the big box stores that have put us into this position. There's very few mom and pop shops. If you look at what's out there, it's either a franchise or a big box store today. Just want to say too that there's going to be some big movements made here in town with the reconstruction of King Street next year, 2019. It will be totally rebuilt wall to wall from the museum down to Church Street, which will be a big improvement. It'll create a synergy, a catalyst hopefully, for owners to start fixing up their buildings and making them look decent. And that's the big problem. I forget who mentioned it. I think Russell did, about ownership of the buildings has to change. So the other thing, there's going to be a revitalization strategy put forth by the Economic Development Department of Norfolk County. That will be starting soon. There's one going on in Simcoe right now. And this will be in association with input from the Delhi BIA and the Delhi Chamber of Commerce and the general public that's here in town and anybody who wants to have input. Thank you.
Mike has hit the biggest thing. It's the downtown services that we need upgraded for the businesses to come. I've noticed in the last year and a half that I can get just about anything I need downtown if I'm willing to walk into the store and look. They may not have it in the window, or they may not have it on a fancy shelf, but it's there, and the people and our businesses are catering to us now. That's their way of getting us back into town, and we have to start looking at our own local businesses. We're the catalyst to do this. If we don't shop locally, they won't invest in their own properties. Thank you.
That's a really good question. Just so happened I walked up and down downtown 2 Saturdays ago, I think, and then just introducing myself to every business that was open. So had some really great conversations about that, actually. And number one thing, we have to redefine residential and commercial. That's a big one. I know a lot of business owners really want to redefine that. Maybe have the people living in the residential or into the commercial areas, maybe living upstairs opposed to in the storefronts. I think that's a really good way of sprucing things up. First of all, don't drop me on time if you're applauding. Second of all, is cohesion, obviously, and a good example is Teresa. And I don't like to use the word revitalization. I like to use the word evolve. Teresa's a great example of that. Initially, cheese shop. Now she's got steaks, pork chops, Shaw's ice cream. So you're constantly evolving and constantly catering to the people and what we need. And now you have bus tours. You've been being a pain in the butt to the seniors tours, and you've got them here. Next thing we need to do is take it to another level. We have to talk to maybe Warner over at Backstage Capital or some of the other businesses. We need to retain these people. It's great that they're at your shop, but we have to retain them in Delhi somehow. And maybe if we all work together, have a little bit of a plan, and we actually keep these people here for more than an hour, that would be great. Thank you very much.
It is a difficult question with the downtown Delhi here, due to the box store question there. And I do very much like Daryl's answer of moving a little bit more residential. One way we could do that, council has very limited powers and funds as far as that's concerned. They really shouldn't be putting their nose into private ownership, private properties, things like that. One way we could possibly do it is we do have a larger number of adults living on assisted living with provincial funds. In order for that, if you put some of those people into those houses, that would give the incentive for those people to keep those properties upgraded. So it's kind of a combination of Daryl's answer and perhaps a financial support in order for that to happen. Thanks.
The Delhi BIA has been struggling with that answer or that question for many years. How do we do the renovations to some of the buildings on King Street? Why it's become like that is because of absentee landlords. They bought the building, they don't care what the building looks like as long as it's rented. I think a few people know one particular person, we won't name, who's decided that he's going to rent some of his business or storefronts as apartments. So I think the county will have to get involved with some of the owners of the buildings to try and improve the front. Thank you.
Our final question is for all of the candidates. With marijuana becoming legal next month and council allowing grow ops, why has council not legalized retail sale of this product? Will this decision by council not allow drug dealers to continue to flourish and potentially increase crime by individuals breaking into the grow ops? What are your thoughts? We'll start with the mayoralty candidates with Crystal Chop. I'm not sure if this question was grammatically correct and the way it was written, but I'll read it one more time. With marijuana becoming legal next month and council allowing grow ops, why has council not legalized retail sale of this product? Will this decision by council not allow drug dealers to continue to flourish and potentially increase crime by individuals breaking into the grow ops? What are your thoughts?
I too was surprised that council did not support recreational storefronts. I was asked about a month and a half ago by the Simcoe Reformer to submit a quote for an article about retail storefronts, and asking whether or not I supported it, as were the two other mayoral candidates. And all three of us supported it. Mr. Luke, at the head of the council table last night, to my knowledge, there was only one councillor that in fact voted in support of recreational storefronts. So that surprises me. As the leader at the head of the table, I would have thought more would have been done to recruit those votes to support the position that he stated he held. As far as whether or not allowing retail storefronts would increase the likelihood of breaking into grow-ops, I'm not sure that I would agree with that position. The security that has been mandated from the federal government on these large-scale operations is quite substantial, and I don't see that being an issue. But I do support retail storefronts.
I, like Crystal and Charlie, in the reformer interview, support it, and I still do. And I don't understand the decision last night. Still scratch my head. We have professional growers of things. I mean, we're the food king, aren't we? And if they can grow anything in greenhouses, they should be able to sell it here in storefronts. And yes, it will increase crime by not supporting retail sales. I just can't understand council's decision. And I can tell you this, if I'm elected mayor, I will overturn that decision. Thank you.
I too support selling legal marijuana in every place that now is allowed to sell cigarettes. It's the province that made it legal, not council. What happened last night? Well, first of all, you know when you're in the chair, you can't debate a motion unless you leave the chair. And you don't do that too often. If you do it all the time, then people start saying you're dominating council by leaving the chair to influence them. So when the vote was taken, there was one or two, I believe Crystal's right, that voted against the motion to defer. The motion to defer was voted on by the majority council. They wanted the province to provide us with more information. We're not happy that they've made these laws to allow marijuana to be grown and used in public starting April 1st, but the enforcement part of it, there's nothing there. So we hope to see that before April 1st. So when I abstain from voting, not putting my hand up, that is a no vote. That's a no vote. Am I done? 30 seconds. 30. So when the mayor doesn't put his hand up, then you're voting against the motion. I did not support the motion to defer. But if the vote is tied, then I must vote. Had the vote been 4-4, I can tell you I would have voted not to defer it and to support staff's recommendation that it be sold everywhere tobacco is sold.
Thank you. I was one of those that voted no. And the reason was what we had on our what we were talking about would just about let anybody sell marijuana. And I heard somebody say, well, do you think that those people who are going to, are selling marijuana now, and I think they're talking about $7 an ounce or whatever it is, and I don't know if that's right or not, but theoretically, if they're going to sell it for $7 an ounce, I can guarantee you those people who have been selling marijuana, it'll be $6. So theoretically, there's going to be. I think what we need to do, and somewhere along the line, I'm hoping the province will come in and say, well, you can put it in all these places, and how many places do we hide the cigarettes? So now you're going to have them in where people who sell cigarettes. So I'm not sure which is worse or less.
30 seconds.
So as far as I'm concerned, somewhere along the line, once we get into closer to 2000 in April, and I may not be there, but I think that's the time to look at as to when and how we're going to do it. I can also tell you that Marican is one of the largest marijuana growers in my ward. Thank you.
I too responded to the simple reformer question about storefront marijuana sales. And my answer was, handle it exactly like tobacco. The problem I think exists is that the province and the federal government aren't putting a blanket across the entire province. Cigarettes are sold in accordance with provincial or federal regulation. Alcohol is sold in accordance with provincial regulation. Why is marijuana sales being governed at the county level? We could say sell it like tobacco, and maybe you could go to Oxford and buy it off the shelf like a chocolate bar. Like, why aren't the upper levels of the government providing direction? That's what I want to know. And I think by council deferring it for some more information, that's a good thing. But it will lead, I think, it eventually will get storefront sales. It's just, how is it going to be sold at the storefront?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a conservative as far as most of my political views go. As far as marijuana goes, I'm fairly liberal with. One of my, not like personally, not that close, but I think it's a good thing that it's that it's getting talked about more and more. But I mean, one of my good friends from Western and whatnot, his family started a big marijuana operation, and they're publicly traded and they're big. We have Marican in Ward 2. I mean, I think the county's right with what they did, eventually selling with cigarettes and storefronts to stores that already have rapport and kind of are trustworthy enough with selling it. But I mean, in the meantime, we need more information. Thanks.
Albert Geiler, can you lead off the Ward 3 candidates?
I guess I take a completely different view of most of the members here. I said to the newspaper when they asked, I don't support the sale of marijuana in any form, legal or illegal. And I look at the social costs of the selling of marijuana, and I know it's legal and everything, but I have personal experience in the family. I've seen what marijuana can do, and the cost to the family, the cost to the health system, and I can't support the sale anyway of marijuana. So in storefronts or anywhere, I won't support it.
First off, I do agree with Joe and Matt about a little bit more education would be good. But with that said, when Monty, I think it was Monty that sent the email, like any good journalist, or I guess in my case, a former journalist would do, research. I know it's a weird thing, but I contacted one of my buddies that I do know would like to have a shop. So we had a really good conversation about it. He guided me to some websites and just some stats and whatnot, and then I talked to someone that is totally opposed to it. Did some more research. You look in Oregon and in Colorado, two states in the United States that do legalize it. Youth usage is down, and by percentage, you can Google that one. And then as far as tax dollars are concerned, tax dollars from the sale of marijuana are going into schools, into roads, a lot of good things. So there are positives to it. As far as sales, yeah, we do need to do a little bit of research, but I'm just trying to say it as nice as possible. It isn't a bad thing, and yeah, I know people's views of it are very strong. I think education is the key. I think that's the big thing. Thank you.
Hi. Like other medications, people that buy marijuana have the ability to choose the dose at which they take it. Unlike water fluoridation, where everybody needs water. If somebody's working outside and you drinking 40, let's say, I don't know, a few liters a day, is somebody that might only have a cup of tea in the morning. It's an entirely unregulated, undosed, forcible mass medication of the population. And yeah, I'm just glad it's not a toxic substance, or maybe council would be slipping it into our water. Thanks.
I'm a supporter of the recreational marijuana. The only question is where it's going to be sold. And I have made my views known that I think the LCBO has a very good security system in place, and I think that's where it should be sold. I know a lot of people are talking about retail. Now we're going to be looking at crime, increasing crime. They're already robbing the little stores, so you're selling marijuana, you're going to be getting more people. So I think LCBO should sell it. Yes, Norfolk County has decided to go back to the Ontario province to get more guidance. I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
It's the federal government that allowed grow-ops. And last night at council, I asked the question of the planning department, how many grow-ops are you aware of in Norfolk County? They told us 50 plus. That's a lot of cannabis. We are the cannabis capital. And like with many other crops, I believe that there's going to be a surplus production. There'll be probably some fire sales, and those people that have invested might have to start thinking twice about where their money's being put. I think the possibility of crime increasing is a good possibility, and I voted in opposition to allow retail stores to sell the product, and I was told this morning that maybe if I was a pot smoker, I might have voted differently. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Thanks.
This is, again, another one of these issues. The federal government changes the law. They collect a bunch of taxes. The province helps implement that law. They collect a bunch of taxes. But all the problems get dumped on the local municipality, and we have to deal with it, and we get nothing for it. I hope that the province rethinks the idea of selling cannabis at the LCBO. They've got 750 some odd bricks and mortar buildings across the province. They've got trained staff. They've got security. That would be my preferred option. Failing that, I don't see an issue with allowing storefront sales, but you'd better sell it the same as tobacco with absolutely no advertising, all hidden from view, duty paid, stickers on it, and warning signs about how unhealthy it is. That would be my stance.
Well, I stated before, the Simcoe Reformer had an article about this, and we were asked that question, and I did support the retail sale of marijuana. There was some talk about, selling in specific zoned areas away from schools and things like that. I'm in the tobacco business, and we always have constant conversations with the Ministry of Finance through their correctional officers. And actually, if you want a job, that's going to be the biggest employment area right now, enforcement of this new cannabis situation. But anyway, back to the issue. I believe that retail sales should be allowed. But I do agree that council may have done the right idea. I was kind of surprised, but I thought maybe the province hasn't given enough direction to the municipalities. So until we hear maybe further from the municipality or from the province, but I do see the ultimate that cannabis will be sold in a storefront, and same as cigarettes. I'd just like to give you a little piece of trivia information. This is kind of interesting. The HST that is collected all across the country contributes $35 billion to our economy. Sin taxes from tobacco sales, alcohol, and gaming produces 28 billion. Think about that. 35 billion HST, which is everybody, 28 billion. So think about this, cannabis will probably contribute close to $8 billion to the federal government.
Thank you to all the candidates for your insightful answers to these very topical questions. At this point, I'd like to turn the microphone back to President Jim Norman.
Thanks, Mike. Anyway, it's been quite an evening tonight. Sorry we weren't able to get through all of the questions. One of the questions that I did want to clarify, someone asked who was paying for the hall tonight. That is the Chamber of Commerce, so I'm not sure what someone was concerned about, but I just had to let you know that. But there's a number of thank yous tonight. First of all, I want to thank the candidates. Big round of applause for them showing up and hearing their views. Also want to thank Mike Jiggins, who ran this and kept us all on track, and everyone else who's involved. Mike. But most of all, I wanted to thank the audience for your questions and also your support in making Norfolk better by participating in this event. It indicates with the number of people that we had out tonight for Delhi that you really are interested in the community and how we move things forward. So give yourselves a round of applause. Okay. So with that, I'm just going to quick do the closing comments. We'll do that. And important thing is reminder to get out and vote and make a difference. And we'll quick do the closing comments. 2 minutes. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute.
So we'll start with Crystal Shop, please. Crystal Shop.
The citizens of Norfolk deserve a leader that ensures we are not all things only to some people. Norfolk needs a new vision and a new attitude because culture and change starts at the top. Norfolk needs a new leader. I want to use my unique background in law, business, and engineering to bring a fresh perspective and new ideas. I want to make sure our frontline staff have all the tools they need to serve us better. I want to see an end to overpriced, overused, and overrated consultants. The citizens of Norfolk deserve a balanced budget that ensures financial health so that investments in your local facilities continue. I want to see a planning environment in Norfolk County that actually supports small business and respects the rights of private property owners. Rules should not be so excessive, they are a death sentence for progress. I want to foster efforts to retain our young people in Norfolk County. Let's make our bylaws reflect the changing times. Let's give people the freedom to innovate and to succeed, and let's give them a reason to call Norfolk home. The choice is crystal clear. I would like to ask for your support on October 22nd.
The perception of Norfolk as an analogy. The county is like a ship adrift in a sea of uncertainty and despair. The good ship's captain and crew are too focused on damage control to see the rocky shoals that surround us, drifting aimlessly, course determined only by the prevailing winds of the day. No one manning the helm, no firm hand on the wheel. The time has come, as with all good things, time for a new captain and crew with all hands on deck. Time to plot a new course into the future. You got a choice ahead. Go with the status quo, 4 more years like the past 4. Experienced professionals got us here. Or try the unconventional, go with a common sense approach and an ordinary man. On election day, dare to be different. Vote Russell Colbert, Mayor of Norfolk. Thank you.
The $6 million deficit last year for unbudgeted surprises has been paid in full from the contingency fund. No one will see any money on their tax bill this year or in the future. The ministry approved last Friday the rezoning project of Scott's. They first said no to council's decision to rezone 10 acres, then they changed their mind. Why? Because planning staff worked with staff to create a site plan that the ministry would accept. You got to play the rules if you want things done. I know Crystal Chop will continue to get a lot of support from former Mayor Dennis Trevally. If you've seen his Twitter feed, Dennis couldn't be more involved. But I believe this county needs a mayor who knows the county and stands on his own 2 feet. Playing hockey taught me about teamwork. Teaching taught me about listening and caring. Isn't that what you would like in a mayor? Oh, and just to finish as a note.
That's time, thank you.
That's it? I'm over? Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, don't have too much to say. I just wanted to thank the local Chamber of Commerce for having us out, and thank you guys for hearing us out today. But just wanted to say for my ward, I'd be more of a listener than anything, and yeah, vote Matt for Ward 2. Thanks.
But I want to say to thank you for all coming out tonight and listening to what we've talked about and what we've tried to do. It'll all come down to you on the 22nd of October. So hopefully, in the meantime, I'm sure that there'll be other of these get-togethers and everything like that. But I think it's important that you look at what is good for Norfolk County. And I hope that you will vote for the person that you consider to be the person that you want. Thank you.
Four years ago, I came to this event. There was probably about only half as many people here. I think knowing that we have this many people coming out, getting involved, folk can vote, doing their part, getting the word out, and what I'm hearing is that people want change. I think with the number of candidates as well, that's also driving this change. I think everybody at this time wants change on council and wants some new ideas. Sorry. I'd be a change, Matt would be a change, all the new candidates would be a change on council. So on October 22nd, think about that. If you want things to stay the same, that's fine. If you want change, vote for somebody else. Thanks.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I do believe Norfolk County is probably in for the most exciting times it's ever seen in the next 10 years. There's a lot of things that are changing in this world, and I think with the things happening in Canada, I think we're here and we're gonna do very well. And I think one of the biggest challenges we have is to challenge growth. I think there will be growth here, and I think we have to be able to manage it. And I think we're in for some good times. Anyway, thank you very much.
So I've got 60 seconds to talk about me. I'm going to take that time to talk about you. I know you're interested in this process. I know you're interested in Norfolk County because you showed up tonight. So I'm going to ask you, when you go home, go talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, and make sure that you can talk them into getting out and voting this time. Last year, or last election, we only had less than half of the people that were registered actually voted. We want to raise that up a little bit. You could mention, if you're in Ward 4, that they could vote for me as well. But take the time and talk to your friends and neighbors and try to get democracy in action in this county. Thank you.
It is great to see the wonderful turnout we've had this evening and the many questions and concerns brought forward. Yes, we as candidates have our work cut out for us. You have heard from the candidates who have all brought their platforms to you for your consideration. It is your decision on who to cast your vote for. In order for your concerns to be heard, come out and vote on October 22nd. I have been asked, why have I decided to run for council? I believe in Norfolk, and want to make improvements. If you want change and willing to make that change, all I ask for is that when you cast your vote, you mark an X in the box beside my name, Leslie Berta. Thank you, and everyone have a great evening.
I have taken the position of municipal councillor seriously and like county business to be conducted transparently, efficiently, and effectively. I listen to the issues, evaluate all options, and take time to choose what is best for Ward 3, Delhi-Windham, the community that I serve, and Norfolk County as a whole. I possess much knowledge about Norfolk and have council chamber experience and have provided quality service to the residents of Ward 3. I have a strong record of proven performance and community commitment that you can continue to count on and will provide trustworthy stewardship of your tax dollar. Re-elect the easily approachable, hands-on counselor who leads from the trenches, always with an ear to the ground and an eye to the future. Come October election, please vote Michael J. Columbus. And thank you for your attendance this evening.
I'd like to thank the Chamber for tonight. It's been a wonderful evening, and those people that come out. The new council, when elected, will have to deal with a very wide range of issues. Some weren't brought up tonight, but they are county-wide issues. And the new council must work as a cohesive unit representing the whole county, not just each ward, but the whole county. On each and every issue brought to the table, I will put my experience in local government to work for you, but I also ask that you get behind the new council, whoever they are, and support them. They're going to need your help. Thank you.
I was thinking of an analogy the last couple of days just about a closing, and the best one I could come up with is we all love Norfolk. I think that's the one common theme here. It doesn't matter what your thoughts are. The number one thing is we love Norfolk. Right now, the current council, the council before that, and everybody else here, there's been some really nice seeds planted right now. Now that it needs to be taken to a different level. And I guess we're those farmers that are going to be taking that to a new level, I think. So we could harvest those and have a really good harvest for people like my daughter and your daughters and their kids after that. And again, we all know that the next council, there's going to be a lot of pressure on them. And I know I've got large shoulders. I've been able to carry hockey teams, baseball teams, newspapers, communities. I don't mind the challenge. I don't crack under pressure. I actually laugh at it. So please, and as a supporter said today, and I'm going to evolve just like downtown. I hope downtown evolves. Get smart and vote smart.
Hello one last time. My name is Tim Sullivan. I'm running for Ward 3, and I hope I don't leave you with the idea that I've made light of this issue. It's one thing that made me come out here, this policy of water fluoridation, that made me feel strongly enough that I had to come here tonight, and I came here the last time. It's a stupid policy. It's a waste of money. It doesn't do what it says what it's supposed to be doing. It was foisted upon us by a very large industry that had a byproduct that it did not know how to get rid of, had many lawsuits over. Even if it went up their smokestacks, they were charged with environmental crimes. They didn't know what to do with it, and they sold it to us. It's a stupid policy. No matter who you vote for, I'd hope that you would recommend to them that that's one policy that we should get rid of in Norfolk County. Norfolk County is a spectacular place to live. Thanks for your time.
And with that, that ends the evening. For further information, certainly go on the Facebook page for Folk and Vote. For those of you that haven't looked at that, there's a lot of good information there. Thank you again for coming out. Thanks for your support.